Hey, Giants fans, we are headed into week 17 of the NFL football season. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful holiday, but that's it. We're back to Giants football for only 2 more weeks, honestly, thank God. At this point, I can't wait for the season to be over. But we've got the Tank Bowl on Sunday at 4 p.m., which is hilarious to me that somehow the Giants ended up with a 4 p.m. game against the Raiders, no less, in week 17. I cannot believe that they have not flexed it for a 1 p.m. game, but it is what it is. Nothing we can do about that. So, it'll be interesting. But we've got some injury updates that I want to talk about first. So, the Raiders went ahead and put Brock Bowers on IR. And if you are rooting for the tank and you want the Giants to lose, kind of like myself, then obviously losing Brock Bowers is a big deal. He has, I think, 7 touchdowns on the season. He's obviously a big time receiving tight end who has been a stud since he entered the league. So losing him for the Raiders is a huge blow. The Giants are a team that have really struggled against covering the tight end. So I think that's really going to affect the Raiders offense. Although I do still think that Ashton Genty is going to run all over us. So they lost Bowers, but they still have Genty. So let's go through the Giants injury report. Now, the Giants did not practice on Christmas Day. It was just a projected walkthrough, but the injury report is basically the same Wednesday to Thursday. And I think when the final report comes out later this afternoon, I don't really think there's going to be a lot of changes. So we had 5 guys who did not participate in practice on Wednesday and Thursday. We have DJ Davidson, who's dealing with a neck/concussion, Evan Neal, who's dealing with a neck, which I don't even care about Evan Neal, but I just can't get over the fact that the second he got back from IR, he immediately got injured again in practice. He has not played a snap in a game. I just don't get it. It's absolutely unbelievable. I also saw a tweet recently from Jordan Schultz, I think, one of the national NFL analysts, was tweeting out that he, I guess, talked to a couple of execs recently and they went back and watched Evan Neal's college film and they just don't get what happened in the NFL. It sounds like he's injury prone based on this whole scenario and other things. So anyway, only 2 more weeks that we have to hear about Evan Neal, and then sayonara, my guy. Next up, we've got Tyler Nubin, who is dealing with a neck injury, John Michael Schmidt's finger, and Andrew Thomas hamstring. Now, again, if you're rooting for the tank here, Andrew Thomas and JMS both being out is a good thing. Now, I'm more so just sad for someone like Andrew Thomas, who's had an unbelievable season. He should have been selected to the Pro Bowl. He's been fantastic. And he said in the post game, that if he's healthy, he wants to play. And, I don't know. I just feel for him, man. He's such a good football player when he's on the field. This offense is obviously night and day difference when he's on the field versus when he's not on the field. And, he already missed the first 3 games that I just, for his sake, wanted him to finish out the season strong. But for the tank's sake, it's a good thing that Andrew Thomas is most likely going to be out. So I think when it comes to the injury designation, he's either going to be doubtful or he's going to be out. I don't think there's going to be any type of questionable with him missing 2 days of practice. I'm going to say the same thing for JMS, who's dealing with a finger. Him, again, do not practice 2 days in a row. Finger as an offensive lineman is something that I think you're going to need. So I don't expect him to play. The difference there is that Austin Schlottman has stepped in for JMS a couple times this year, and there has been no difference in the offensive line. He's been great. So we will see how that goes on Sunday. They're not going against a superstar defense. So I think that having Schlottman in there for JMS will be just fine. Next up, we have I just want to go back to Tyler Nubin for a second from the safety perspective, because the Giants are not very deep at safety. I expect that means that obviously we're going to see Holland and Dane Belton, but I think they're going to be elevating someone from the practice squad. And I'm actually going to pull up who's on the practice squad, because from a safety perspective, my guess is it's probably Raheem Lane. I think he's probably the only one at this point that is on the team. So let's go to position here and down to the safeties. So, okay, practice squad, we have Raheem Lane is the only safety on the practice squad. And, Bo Braid I forgot about him. So Bo Braid is actually on the 53. So I think they're going to plan to use Bo Braid, but I think they're also going to elevate Raheem Lane on Saturday. So stay tuned for that when the practice squad elevations come out. So secondary, I just, at this point, like, I can only laugh because it's just so truly comical. Next up, for guys who are limited, we have Deonte Banks, who's dealing with a shoulder, which, look, I don't like Deonte Banks. I don't think that he's a good football player, but for the sake of the tank, put Deonte Banks out there on Sunday. And he's limited, so he probably will go. Same thing with Cordell Flott, who left the game on Sunday with a knee injury. He's listed as limited. I think those two guys will both be listed as questionable if they are not fully cleared by Friday afternoon. Next up is Nacho. I think that he will be the one of the three who's listed as questionable because he didn't play last week. I believe he's been like on and off this injury list with a lot of different things. He's dealing with an ankle/toe, so I don't know. We're probably not going to see him there. And then next up, two guys who are full practices, Joshua Azudu and Demetrius Flanagan Foles. So Flanagan Foles is someone that they will use on special teams, and honestly, with the way that our linebacking core is, we're probably going to see him on Sunday for sure. And then I also think that there is a chance that they might elevate who's the linebacker that I was just looking at? Space Bozeman. They're also going to elevate Ben Sauls because he was not activated to the 53. He is just a practice squad player, so they will elevate him again for week 2. So that's where we're at with the injury updates. I mean, look, it's the race for the tank. I know a lot of us at this point are like, we don't care about meaningless wins. I personally feel I've watched this Giants team win meaningless games in the last 2 years, and the only thing that it has done is ruined our draft stock. It has not rolled over. We have not won the season opener the next year because we won in week 17 or week 18. We missed out on Drake May and what's his face? Jaden Daniels, like we missed out on some good players because of that. So I'm all in for the tank right now. I do think that it could be a close game. I don't think that the Raiders are a good football team, but they actually played relatively well against the Texans. And if Geno Smith does not throw that pick 6, they're right in there against that really good Texas defense. So obviously losing Brock Bowers is a big blow to their offense, but I don't know. I mean, our defense is so bad that I really think that Ashton Jeanty could just literally run all over us. So with that being said, let's talk about the Giants and the offensive players to watch. So obviously Jackson Dart, I was listening to his press conference this week from the media earlier today, and he was asked about, Wan'Dale is, I believe, 57 yards away from getting an 1,000-yard season for the first time in his career in the NFL. Obviously, he's only been with the Giants, and he's never done it so far. And Jackson Dart said, it's really important to him. He said him and Wan'Dale Robinson have a great relationship, and Wan'Dale was showing him some sort of stat that said that no one in the NFL who's been his size has ever achieved 1,000 yards. So I'm going to put the focus on Jackson Dart and Wan'Dale Robinson on the offensive side of the ball this week because with that being said, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is going to get a lot of targets. I also expect that Mike Kafka is going to have a very different game plan going against this defense. Say whatever you want about Patrick Graham. The Raiders defense is not good. He is not Brian Flores. There's no Van Ginkel on, is it Van Ginkel? I think that's what it is. He's not on this football team. So, I think that the Giants offense will be better this week. I don't think Mike Kafka is going to go into this with a very scared game plan where they're only going to run the ball. I think they're going to focus on running the ball like they have the last couple weeks. Maybe instead of 30 carries, they're going to have 20, but I expect running the ball to be a big focus for this Giants offense. So Tyrone Tracy is going to be another name to watch. I think those 3 guys are really going to have an opportunity to have a big game on Sunday. And I really just want to see Jackson Dart end this game strong. Again, you're going against a defense who is not very good. I know that he had a tough game last week, but he did relatively well against a Brian Flores defense. Mike Kafka just didn't let him throw the ball. And if Theo Johnson, Darius Slayton, and Daniel Bellinger's so Daniel Bellinger had, I think it was a 10-yard reception that got called back or declined because of a penalty. Because of that, you're looking at Jackson Dart's stats, and he, instead of going 7 of 13, he goes 10 of 13 for probably 80 yards instead of 33. And no, that's still not a great game, but it's significantly better than going 7 of 13 for 33 yards. So anyway, I really want, for Jackson's sake and for all of our sake as Giants fans, I want him to have a great game against a bad defense. He's had really great games against very good defenses, like the Chargers, like the Broncos, like the Eagles. So, the only thing I care about is moving forward at this point, and I care about the 2026 season more than anything. So I want Jackson Dart in this offense to have a good game. I just want them to lose on like a last minute field goal or something. I don't care. Say what you want, hate me if you want. I don't care. Let's talk about the defensive players to watch. Abdul Carter, you knew this was coming. You knew he was going to be my number one guy to watch this weekend. He's got 3 sacks in 3 games. He's got 7 quarterback hits in 2 games. His pressures are through the roof. He is leading rookie edge rushers with the most amount of pressures. He's got 54. And the next person behind him has like 37 or something. They're not even remotely close. So Abdul Carter, he's getting praise from his coaches. He's in early. He's watching more film. He is rededicated. I don't know if you guys saw that clip on Hard Knocks from Chuck, as they call him, Charlie Bullen. He apparently goes by Chuck to the players. That's what Cordell Flott told us in one of our press conferences. That he praised him to the group and said, like obviously after everything that happened, he's bounced back really strong and resilience is very important. So Abdul Carter is a guy, again, like Jackson Dart, these young guys, you got to finish out the season strong. The Raiders have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. And Abdul Carter lined up in the center. You're going against a bad offensive line, run through that 0 and get there, get to the quarterback, get to Geno Smith. I mean, this is a game where I expect the defensive line, Dexter Lawrence I think he has 1 sack on the season. He should have a couple more if it weren't for flags, but this is a game where I expect there to be sacks aplenty. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, I'm expecting at least 1 each, and I could be way off on that, but the matchups here for those 3 guys against this offensive line, it's a no-brainer. Get to the quarterback. Geno Smith has been sacked probably 100 times this year. This is what the Giants offensive line has been like for years. The Raiders is atrocious. I cannot tell you how many clips I have watched, and I'm blanking on the guy's name right now, of one of the offensive linemen, I think one of the guards, who just gets beat literally every play. Just absolutely horrible. So the defensive line is a position group as a whole that I would say to focus on, because I'm expecting them to get a lot of pressure and really mess up Geno Smith's day. So we'll see how that goes. But Abdul Carter, finish it out strong, baby. I would feel so good about him if he ends the last 5 games with 5 sacks. 5.5 sacks on the season. I mean, more would be amazing. But for all the people who are freaking out that he doesn't have any sacks, I'm sure you'd feel great if he had 5 in 5 games. End the season strong. That's what I want to see. Brian Burns is up to 15. I mean, the guy has had 5 2-sack games this year so far. I think this could be number 6 for him. So I really just want to see them get good pressure on Geno Smith. Just pad up those stats, right? That's all we want to see at this point. So really looking forward to watching those guys play. And then the last player is Drew Phillips, who I know got a tough penalty last week. I felt like that was kind of BS. It was a stupid penalty. We can argue about the refs all day, but Drew Phillips is one of those guys who, since Charlie Bullen has been here, I'm not crowning Charlie Bullen, he's done a couple things right, and I don't know what he has done with Drew Phillips, but he looks much more like the football player that we saw last year that we were all so excited and optimistic about coming into year 2. So again, for the young guys, finish out the season strong. I do not want to go into next season and feel like we have to revamp our entire secondary. And I know that guys playing well in the last 2 games of the season, one of them being against the Raiders, doesn't really matter. But I think building up that confidence and having good games and stacking them back to back is a point towards consistency, which is something that this team has struggled with regardless of who the opponent is. So these are the games, when you're playing a bad team, like when the Giants played the Saints, that's a game that you're supposed to win. I saw a stat yesterday, and that I will end it on this, that the Patriots, who are 12-3, and the Giants, who are 2-13, both have 2 wins against teams that are over 500. The Patriots, who are 12-3. So you know what the Patriots have done, because they have good coaching and they know how to close out games? They've beat the bad teams, which is what the Giants should have done, which is insane to me that they couldn't do, because they could beat the really good teams and they could play very close games against teams like the Cowboys and the Broncos and the Bears. They kept games really close. The Lions, the Packers, next year is almost here. Anyway, in the future, they got to beat the bad teams. And while I don't want them to beat the Raiders, because again, first overall pick, First time since 1965 would be epic. Means Joe Shane's getting fired. Means we're going to have a real fun offseason. That's what I really want. But I also want these players to play well. And before all of you be like, that's a contradiction, it's not really. Because Brian Burns has 15 sacks. He's a Pro Bowler. He's going to be an All-Pro. Andrew Thomas is playing at an All-Pro also, Pro Bowl caliber rate. You've got the defensive line who's doing well. Abdul Carter's playing well. Jackson Dart was playing well. Malik Neighbors was playing well before he got injured. All of these guys individually are playing very well. They're not playing complementary football, which is why they're losing. So it is a true statement that individually players can play well. Brian Burns has 15 sacks. He's number 2 in the NFL, and he has 20 tackles for loss. He's number 3 in the NFL. So you can have how about Myles Garrett? Unbelievable season. Over 20 sacks. The Browns have 3 wins. So complementary football is how you win games, something that the Giants don't really know how to do. But individually, I want good performances. I want to feel good about this team, especially the young guys moving forward. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm rooting for the tank. But anyway, I hope that for the players' sake that they play well. But basically, whoever wins this game is getting the first overall pick. So, or whoever loses this game is getting the first overall pick. So go Giants.